Persevere, you'll make it through. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Trump Tyranny Tracker. It's Thursday, September 25th. Welcome to our daily look at how the Trump administration is taking away your democracy with Olga Lautman. How are you doing, Olga?
I'm good watching this shit show, as we all are.
Yeah, there's so much in the news today that's just worthy of our attention. I wanted to get your sense of any further thoughts on yesterday's. Was it yesterday, 2 days ago, back and forth with Ukraine and Trump's supposed repositioning. You don't buy it. I don't buy it, I don't think. But tell us what your thoughts are on any of that.
My thoughts are the same they were in January, that Europe needs to, take US out of the calculation. They need to be ready to defend, their continent, to help Ukraine, more so stop Russia in Ukraine and provide everything with Ukraine. And this, uh, back and forth flip-flopping with Trump, frankly, is irrelevant. I am, though, interested in the fact that after Trump made those comments, which frankly were very comical, watching the Russians in state media losing their mind, that Russia sent 4 fighter jets off of Alaska that NORAD had to scramble. So, I mean, this is very interesting because they're not just testing Europe, they're testing the United States directly, and we have yet to hear anything from the Pentagon or the White House or anyone that, they sent 2 strategic bombers plus 2
That is
25.
interesting that you're connecting these two things together. And of course, it makes sense that they're connected. Do you believe that Russia was completely caught off guard by Trump's comments? Or do you think that they would at least have been aware that he was playing some sort of, let's call it a game, though it's not really a game. Let's call it a strategic move against the Russians.
I don't think they were caught off guard because they're used to him, occasionally having some kind of a blip, and I know, and saying something that's not in their interest. But I do think that they are testing NATO and Europe, and with that, the United States, to see if we would participate. Um, and I do think that they are sending him a message, that he better get back in line because it's literally, it wasn't even 24 hours after his comments that they decided to send the fighter jets. And then you had the former Prime Minister, President, Kremlin puppet, mouthpiece, Medvedev coming out and making threats. You're going to see more threats. I assume, honestly, that soon they're going to, give a taste of compromise. They'll do everything to try to get him back in line. On the other hand, I just had this whole discussion on the show that Trump is a narcissist. And, if someone is feeding him information on the American side that, you don't want Russia attacking NATO countries on your watch, this also might have an impact on him. So, frankly, I don't know where it goes from here. But I do know that if there are people, and I do know that there are people surrounding Trump, who are pro-Ukraine, if they are pushing, that you're going to have an Afghanistan moment on steroids, if you allow Russia to attack a NATO country, then that might have some kind of at least a temporary impact. And Russia has gotten very aggressive. They've always
They really
carried out
have.
operations like with plausible deniability, but they've already managed to shut down 2 times now, yesterday and the day before, the airports in Copenhagen, and then with Estonia, fighter jets in their airspace, drones in Poland, drones in Stockholm, drones in Oslo. Literally, the past few weeks, they are escalating and now sending fighter jets to the United States. So,
What do you make
they're-
of the upcoming meeting that Hegseth has with all his generals and
oh,
brigadier generals? What's all that about? No one knows, I think, but Any guesses?
Anything from a Venezuela war to he wants to purge them because at one point they actually, said something or did something that followed the Constitution. I mean, I don't know. Hopefully, we'll get more details since this meeting did leak. I did watch CNN just now when they had this breaking news, and they said this had never been done before
Yeah.
to assemble all the generals and high level officials under one roof. So,
It is very unusual. Normally, they could do these kind of things virtually, but I guess not. So that could indicate, something really top secret classified, or maybe there's a purge, as you point out. We'll find out
yeah,
as we're getting more
it could be
information.
anything for as simple as, that they want to purge everyone, the whole military, to something as serious that maybe, or maybe it involves Russia. I mean,
Hmm.
that would
Who
be
knows?
that would be a good thing for me, if they actually finally took Russia serious. But we're far,
We'll
far from.
find out. Let's get into the day's Trump Tourney Tracker, which you can find at trumptourneytracker.substack.com. These are just the 5 or 6 stories that we thought were really interesting to highlight today. This is for what day are we on here? 248,
48
I think.
recap. Yeah,
Yes.
today's 249. This is for yesterday.
Oracle founder Larry Ellison has quietly emerged as one of Trump's most influential backers, with insiders now calling him a shadow president. His family empire spans AI, data hosting, and media, from TikTok servers to Paramount, giving him unprecedented sway in Trump's America. It's an unprecedented concentration of tech and media power and money, but it's not that surprising. There's so many billionaires involved with the Trump regime.
And this is the ultimate problem with authoritarian regimes that, you have a handful of people who are really controlling um, all the circumstances. And here you have, Oracle, who's about to take over TikTok. I mean, TikTok, if it was bad before, you could imagine the Chinese are going to have a run for their money when the American propaganda, far right propaganda takes over. You have Twitter that is gone, Facebook that is gone. So, I mean, literally, they're taking over not only all social media platforms, but also you see the pressure on ABC. This time they came around and thank goodness put Jimmy Kimmel back on the air, and did push back after buckling. You see with CBS News what is happening. And I mean, this is a problem because this is a very transactional White House. I mean, they don't care about national security. They don't care about you or I or anyone in this country. All they care about is how they can profit, them and the insiders. And that's why first it was Elon Musk who, had all the power and was the shadow president. Now it's this Larry guy, Ellison. Um, and this is what it looks like. This is basically a kleptocracy, same thing where in Russia, for instance, you have several oligarchs who hold the ultimate power. Obviously, Putin has it and can end them at any moment, but they're the ones who control everything, have their people inside of agencies and whatnot.
It does seem like Ellison is now the second in the richest person in the world, and he's taking over sort of Elon Musk's position alongside Donald Trump now that Elon Musk is no longer in favor. But I also noted, they're going to take over CNN, the Ellison and the family. It looks like that their next bid is for Warner Brothers, which will include CNN, probably amalgamate CBS News and CNN together. That will reduce the number of independent voices out there with you could think of them all as corporate media, but it certainly narrows the field out there. And it's interesting that Murdoch is partnering with Ellison on TikTok, which is again another right-wing conservative operation that it seems they're building over there. That's troubling for the availability of different voices and diversity of voices across the spectrum.
Yeah, and this is why so many are leaving, this corporate media landscape and opening up Substacks or YouTube channels or doing their own thing
Mm.
because, one, you have the freedom to speak out, at least for now, as long until we don't have that freedom anymore. But you have the freedom to speak out, and you're not pressured by the editorial staff, and that's it. And this is where it's going to go. as long as we have independent media, we need to fight for that because that, frankly, is the most important, because they usually, again, aren't under the pressure of trying to play both sides, which is probably one of the worst, in American media. This notion that you have to give each side, no matter how ridiculous or insane or dangerous or corrupt the situation is, you have to give everyone,
Equal
a
time.
thing. Yeah, I mean, the thing, and this is something that is taught in journalism school, and this is not really in times like this. Like,
No.
those teachings need to go out the window.
Yeah, it doesn't mean you can publish anything just because the other side says it. Sometimes they can be very wrong. Moving to regulatory capture, the SEC just dismissed a fraud case against Devon Archer, a Trump pardoned associate of Hunter Biden, weeks after Chairman Paul Atkins took office. So Atkins previously earned $1,450 an hour testifying for Archer's defense. Though Atkins formally recused himself, critics say it confirms fears about his deregulatory agenda and the transformation of an oversight agency into really just a protection racket. It does appear like that's what it is now. Just all these cases against significant crypto companies, and now the Devon Archer case being dismissed like that.
So basically, that's exactly what it is. And unfortunately, every single agency of ours is hijacked. And they're doing everything to protect the allies. Every single Trump donor who had any kind of criminal case or investigations by SEC or Treasury or anything, those cases are being dismissed. If you donated to Trump, you pretty much either had your case dismissed, a pardon, or both. And then at the same time, these agencies are being weaponized to go after opponents or opposition or anyone Trump deems is not worthy enough. And this is a very big problem because the agencies, no longer act independently, and this is what we're seeing. Thugs being, you know, have their cases dismissed, pardoned, and then at the same time, innocent people who took an oath to the Constitution and followed their oath under investigation and with potential indictments.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. And of course, there's probably in all of these cases some back channel funds moving as well, likely some bribes or those kinds of things moving around. Certainly,
Uh,
this administration likes to take money in paper bags. It seems. Trump
like I
announced he'll
said,
sign.
like I said, they need to put a table in front of the White House and just, with a "We are for sale" sign
Yeah,
and like come and buy
bribe us
us
over
and give us.
here.
Yeah.
The segment, the third story now in our look at the Trump Tyranny tracker today is Trump announcing an executive order that he intends to sign to dismantle what he calls the domestic terrorism network, funded by left-wing groups citing violence after Charlie Kirk's assassination. He and his allies continue to allege, without evidence, that a coordinated left-wing movement is behind attacks on conservatives, while completely ignoring documented right-wing violence against liberals. Um, it seems unstoppable. He just went on about this with Erdogan a few minutes ago. He was talking about how he's going after this left-wing liberal democratic rhetoric, which doesn't exist. It doesn't exist.
This is just code word for taking out your opposition, taking out any institutions or organizations that investigate corruption, that, work on democratic reforms, that work on crimes against humanity, human rights violations. We just saw, um, I believe, 17 lawmakers who were arrested for attempting in New York City, my hometown, attempting to visit, an ICE facility because of the, human rights violations taking place. They got arrested instead. So for oversight, basically, this is what is happening. Um, it's extremely problematic. I mean, this is where we are. It's only the beginning, and I hate to constantly compare it to Russia, but this is exactly what, Putin did. I need to learn another authoritarian regime, like the ins and outs of it.
But they're all similar and they're inspired by
They're
Russia.
all
Russia's the
similar.
granddaddy.
I need to learn Chinese to
Yeah.
figure out the Chinese regime. But in Russia, this is exactly what Putin did. They, labeled everyone. as domestic terrorists and enemies of the people and everything. And one by one, they got rid of them. Had them prosecuted, shut down the organizations, shut everything down, arrested and murdered opposition leaders, and that's it. And this is, where it is. The end result is that there's absolutely zero pushback or dissent inside of Russia. He is attempting to do the same thing here.
It would be very useful if the mainstream media, at least at some points, began offering some context around what is going on and looking at other authoritarian regimes and what they've done. And it's not hard to see that there's no documented evidence of the so-called liberal democratic rhetoric. So they can prove it. They've got the researchers. They can show America that what he's talking about doesn't exist and he's making it up. But you never get that coverage on the mainstream media at all, even on the left-leaning networks.
Nope.
The Justice Department is scrambling to indict former FBI Director James Comey before the statute of limitations expires next week, alleging he lied in 2020 testimony about the Bureau's Trump-Russia probe. Trump personally removed the U.S. attorney who balked at charges and installed loyalist Lindsay Halligan to push the case forward, despite career prosecutors' doubts about the evidence. Well, we've been following this very closely. It looks like they're still going to try to do this, but there is some internal opposition which may slow it down. But it does look like they're still going to go ahead and do these charges, although no news today that they've initiated those.
Yeah, and Sabrina asked, will they start murdering people here? First of all, yes, they will if this
Maybe
is
they
left
have.
unchecked. Yeah, and we already saw, evidence of with a whistleblower who talked about Musk and how they were taking data and how they sent drones to his house and, to take pictures of him walking his dog, then stapled an envelope on his door and said, "Here we have pictures of you," and
Yeah.
basically did everything to intimidate um them. So yes, if this is left unchecked, I mean, he's not going to go whacking people now, but this is absolutely part of how he thinks, and he would not, you know. He'd use either princes, mercenaries, or whatever to eventually do this. But we're time, we have time for that. We need to push back on what is happening now. As far as with Comey, this should be happening any minute. I expect the charges to come down today. I actually just released an article on unmasking Russia about that. My take on what is going on, and they will absolutely weaponize, make sure they're weaponizing the Justice Department. They will make sure to indict him. And again, the whole point here is not to have a successful court case. This is what people need to understand. It doesn't matter if there's no evidence, whatever. The point of this whole thing is to have a mugshot and to have propaganda theater around this whole thing. This is all it is, and to throw red meat to his base, who have been, craving for arrest. I mean, they're really threatening Pam Bondi and everyone in his regime for not having everyone just arrested, like all Democrats arrested, no evidence, never mind evidence or, courts or anything, just arrest them and that's it, prosecute them. Probably would be happy if, they line people up and start shooting them. Um, his base is very, very, insane. So the whole point is not about whether the charges will go through. It's just to get that spectacle, and the propaganda surrounding it.
Although if it goes before a grand jury and they don't indict, then you've got a real, challenge to his perception of what Trump Russia really is all about. Because if they view the Comey indictment as folly, then they are, supposedly then, if you follow the logic, they're suggesting that Trump Russia is not a hoax either. Which I don't. It's not really what's being adjudicated here because this is about whether
Yeah,
he perjured himself. But it
yeah.
does tie into it all. I mean, there is an attempt to certainly expunge the president's record
Well,
on
yeah.
Trump Russia by using an investigation into Comey as reason for that.
Yeah, he's going after anyone, frankly, who investigated him, whether it's Russia or classified documents or whatever. Unfortunately, I mean, the grand jury's not going to have, the full evidence presented. I mean, this is a very narrow charge. So in this case, it would just be evidence surrounding whether he perjured or didn't perjure himself in Congress. If it gets past a grand jury, which it might, we don't know. It'll probably be thrown out in court because I can't see, especially with from statements, over the weekend, him, any judge allowing this court case to go through. But the point is, again, this is not about the legality, whether it'll get through here or there. The whole point is to use this as propaganda and also at the same time silence dissent for people inside who are thinking of becoming whistleblowers and see disturbing lawless things happening inside their agencies and want to come forward to Congress or whatever. So this is the point, to silence people and at the same time have this propaganda theater.
Yeah. I also published something on narrative.org about this today. And, my sense is that America may really recoil from any attempt to target Comey and others. Regardless, it seems like such a politically motivated attempt to indict a former FBI director, and he's been so vocal about it that it really just sullies the entire investigation. I can't imagine America's going to think this is a good deal, no matter which side of the spectrum you're on. It's just such an obvious power play by a president. Finally,
Yeah.
Trump officials have ordered agencies to draft reduction in force plans that would permanently purge federal employees if funding lapses on October the 1st. Now, traditionally, shutdowns trigger temporary furloughs, but this memo signals an outright job cuts. This transforms a budget negotiation tool into a mechanism for permanently dismantling the federal workforce. They've already had such deep cuts in the federal government. I can't imagine there's that much deeper they can go, but they're going to try.
Oh, they'll go until they get to, a quarter. That's all loyalists. And the whole point is to get rid of the civil servants who actually, again, took an oath to the Constitution, who had proper training, and replace them with subservients who will carry out and do whatever without asking questions or reporting anything. But it is interesting because you know, Republicans are busy blaming Democrats for the potential shutdown, which frankly I don't understand, and I don't understand media and anchors who ask Democrats, like, oh, do you feel responsible if the government shuts down? Look who's in power. It's Republicans, they control everything. So frankly, that question shouldn't even be addressed to Democrats. But it's interesting. He canceled a meeting with Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries to try to work through and avoid this shutdown. And the bottom line is he wants the government to shut down because this, this is something where he can use this opportunity to purge all agencies of any remaining loyalist. So this is, very predictable. He said it himself. It's not that you have to, even imagine it over the past several months. Him and what's his name? Vote.
Yes, Route. Isn't Route? Route. Isn't it? I think.
Project 2025 guy
the
who
former guy.
had
He's the head of OMB now.
OMB.
Yes. I don't
Yeah.
remember his name. I think it's Route. I think it's
I
Route.
think it's Vout.
Okay.
I
Could be
remember
Route. I think you might be.
whatever, that freak.
Oh yeah, Route was the assassin. That's why I'm confused. So yes, I think it's Vout. I think you're right.
Route. They're both assassins.
Yeah.
One is taking out the government, but he laid it out in Project 2025, and himself made comments of how they would use a government shutdown to seize on the opportunity to empty out the government. So I mean, this is exactly everyone's telling us about.
Vout, yes. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. It does worry me, this shutdown. I think it's also an excuse to again hide the Epstein files and to avoid any votes on that, which is exactly timed around the shutdown. And it also worries me about a potential war if they start entering any military action against Venezuela and there's no Congress. They'll be allowed to do it. They'll argue they're allowed to do it. So this could be a long-term
anyway.
permanent shutdown that could cost a lot of jobs as well. So it's a third factor.
It's horrific, and I frankly, like, really, I hope everyone wakes up. We really, really, need to get united, strategize, and start pushing back. The courts have been holding for now, for the most part, but they're not going to hold much longer. Because this is like, they're like a dam and it's gonna, with cracks emerging, and eventually, like, it's gonna be up to us. We're the ones who are gonna have to push back against all of this.
He keeps claiming that there are trillions of dollars coming in from all these tariffs. He's so bullish on how much money he is making. He keeps talking about our money, but he doesn't seem to be willing to spend that on a relief for people who are losing their Medicare and Medicaid. The two things don't add up. And so what's he doing with all that tariff money? Where is it going? And is it really there? I mean, one hardly imagines it is, but it doesn't
It's
look
his
like it's going to the
pocket.
budget. Yeah.
No. It's his pocket, and at the end of the day, the one thing, Americans are not stupid. Although but you had half of the country elect him, but the majority of people are not stupid, and like he can brag that he has $400 trillion coming in. We're all paying more for gas, for eggs, for steak, for beef, for everything. Everything is more expensive. My damn freaking coffee that used to be $18, is now I have to catch it at the right time because it goes anywhere from $28 to $35.
Unbelievable.
So I mean, we're all paying more. So he can have all the trillions and this and that. And this was partly what, Biden didn't learn. Um, because even though the numbers on paper look good for the economy and we were growing, people were hurting.
Yeah.
And this is why there was a backlash against, Biden, because they didn't care what numbers on a piece of paper say or where trillions are coming. They care when they go to the gas station, when they go to the supermarket, can they afford to pay, for everything? Energy bill, I was screaming. I mean, me out of all people, like, I've never seen anything like this. My electric bill, it peaked to $880.
Oh wow.
880. I used to pay at peak. The maximum was $550, and I thought, oh my God, this is crazy. $880. And this is what's happening across the whole East
And that's
Coast. It's
related
not
to
just New
tariffs.
York.
That's tariffs.
It's tariffs and it's a whole combination of things. But the bottom line is it's happening across all of the East Coast. And I mean, this is enough to pay what used to be a rent. And we're not even going to talk about
Yeah,
rents.
for sure.
And it's only going to get worse. Things are going to get only more expensive as they, disappear migrants. All our fields are going to be left, with fruits and everything rotting. As what's happening with strawberry fields in in Florida. So it's only going to get more expensive. So he could sit and brag, I took $500 trillion. Wonderful. my electric bill and my food bill is still this, and it's only going
Absolutely.
up.
There's no doubt tariffs ultimately cause inflation and stagflation. That seems to be always a delayed indicator after tariffs, but it happens eventually, and it looks like it's happening across the board for people's prices from coffee to power. You're right. It's everyone's complaining about it. That's the Trump Tyranny Tracker for today, Thursday, September 25th. What do you have coming up on Unmasking Russia?
I don't even know. My head hurts. What do I have? I just put out the Comey thing on active measures series Monday. The next article drops, chapter article on now we started the first, I believe, 9 chapters. It's I think we released chapter 9. We started the first 9 chapters and showing how Russia from 2008 on laid the groundwork. Now we're going to move into the operational phase chapters of the DNC hack, and everything that took place. So that is that with on Monday that drops, and that's it. And I'm hoping to catch up finally on my tyranny tracker which, we are doing these, and I have all the news pulled. I just need to edit and try to get the last few days out the door.
You're doing so much great work and you're studying at the same time, which is amazing. Olga Lautman from Unmasking Russia and from the Trump Tyranny Tracker. Subscribe to her Substacks and support her in every way you can. She's absolutely worth every cent.
And what about you? What's going on with you?
Narrative.org. Last night we did a great session with Bill Black, the former regulator, and the SNL crisis. And what we really tried to lay out for everybody was a template for how, these crashes, like the 1987 stock crash and the thing that happened afterwards, which was the junk bond crisis, and then the SNL crisis, that all these things seem to be part of, a connected template that you see over and over again. We saw it happening in 87, we saw it happening in 90, and then we also see it all the way in 2008 when the subprime mortgage collapsed. Now, the difference between, the SNL crisis and the subprime mortgage is 1,000 people went to jail for the SNL crisis. Not a single person went to jail for 2008. And that crisis was some people say a $40 trillion crisis by the time you figure out how much was bailed out, which happens to be, almost the amount of money we have as debt in our current, American bank statement. So it's an interesting conversation. I'll have it up later on today. Then I also posted something on Comey, and I'm looking at the Epstein vote. Will the discharge petition work? Will they have time to vote on it? They've now got 218 votes, but they may not be able to vote if the shutdown happens.
When does she get sworn in? Next week?
I think she starts next week, if I'm not mistaken. But she's committed to signing it. I just don't know if they're going to get there. They just may not get there. We'll see if Johnson even allows this thing to happen. And there isn't time either because they're all on recess right now.
And then the shutdown.
Yeah. So it's another way to bury conveniently.
I would not put it past Republicans. I mean, Johnson fled the last time this was coming up. I mean, he shut down Congress early for summer recess and ran out of DC.
All I can say is there must be a lot of damaging information in there for them to be working so hard to not have these votes happen. So we'll see what happens. Anyhow, that's the Trump Tyranny Tracker for today. Thank you very much, Olga. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a great day. And thanks to everyone who watching from home. Bye.
Bye, everyone.